brown cow. Elected in a country full of racists, Senator Wong, in recently returning from China, a paradise for minority women, was proud to hear Qantas's 1 millionth welcome to country, but like all advocates of the voice and stolen land and such, won't be giving her assets to Aboriginal people anytime soon. Despite Great Britain spending decades travelling around the world, abolishing slavery, and being told by all persons of colour slave traders to bugger right back off to where they came from, Wong then flew first class to the UK to throw some Asian spices in the faces of Indigenous white people, and womansplained that they should be ashamed of their past, present and emerging history, adding that no Asian countries ever did anything bad, past, present or emerging. While saying that the voice should be pushed through without any details, Wong stated that if countries where Indigenous people are white implemented a voice, it would be incredibly racist, regardless of the details not emerging. Female slaves in China have applauded Wong's brevity and live in the feminist hope that she will one day speak up for them. However, Communist China, implementing their 100 years of humiliation agenda, would prefer that people such as Wong stay in Australia, convincing us we're racist. Uncle Xi is awarding such comrades with a drum, symbolic for those who beat the drum of communism, which are being handed to people in secret commie training centres around Australia. Female slaves are being whipped into a human rights violation frenzy in order to make the golden handshake drums for advocates of a new form of capitalism known as socialism. Uncle Xi's drums have been inspired by ABC's The Drum, as he respects their programs giving more airtime for Marxists to trash Christians, and admires how they use $3 million a day of our own money to constantly remind white people who bring attention to the wrong kind of Indigenous suffering that they are white supremacists. Uncle Xi has commended America on their recent Black History Month. China's Black History Month in 2020 included evicting all African people during the pandemic of a fascist disease and encouraged citizens to put black people in the bin. However, Wong made a good point in saying that it wasn't racist because they also encouraged to put white people in the bin equitably. Xi previously applauded his Black Lives Matter comrades in America for growing the roots of communism and for conducting mostly peaceful burnings of buildings. In remembering the worldwide Black Lives Matter protests for George Floyd, who died pretty much from drugs and in the presence of mostly non-white police and was therefore racist, another black man, Tyre Nichols, was killed by police on the first day of Black History Month. Upon discovering Nichols was killed by black police, communist Black Lives Matter founders, now living in their new multi-million-dollar mansions sponsored by anti-racism, concluded that the reason why black people kill other black people is because of systemic white patriarchal racism, because all tribes in Africa get along like a village of huts on fire. One native Indian from his native Indian casino, which sucks up money from all races equally, was asked to speak at a Black History Month rally and remind white Americans about slavery. He spoke on the last court trial held in America in regards to keeping slaves. However, as the plaintiffs were native Indians wanting to sustain their cultural right to keep native Indian slaves, white men threw their tomato sauce covered tampons at him while calling him an Uncle Tom. Tom Sowell, who was also asked to speak at the rally by woke white organisers because they thought due to his skin colour he would say all the right things. However, Sowell explained that it was always Africans who caught and sold fellow African slaves to white and brown people and kept more to themselves than they sold, and those Ottoman Empire types enslaved millions of white and black slaves equally. The diverse white men in the audience wearing Allah loves the gays silenced him for wrong speak and also called him an Uncle Tom. As Black History Month concludes, a new suffering minority has been established called Nouveau Blackface for persons of colour who are not persons of colour, or Pok-Wan-Pok for short. Pok-Wan-Poks, in identifying as a minority, feel self-worth through pretend suffering, but have ended up with real suffering because everyone thinks they are truly pathetic. And finally, to tourism. Taiwanese people with their various ancient tribes were impressed to hear Qantas's welcome to country when landing in Australia. But as most of the airport staff weren't Aboriginal or white, and the whites weren't being culturally racist, checked if they were indeed in Australia. However, on TV, an ABC's story about white supremacy assured them they were down under. But upon visiting the world's oldest Chinatown in Melbourne, suddenly didn't feel so welcome. Upon returning home, they felt even less welcome as Taiwan wasn't listed anywhere at the Qantas terminal. And when landing, Qantas played the Chinese national anthem while not acknowledging any long-standing tribal cultures. Don't forget to buy this new and exclusive t-shirt. Big thank you to Joe, whose yearly Buy Me a Coffee membership just ticked over again. Thanks, Joe. That's a massive help. You're the best. Thank you. See you bigots next time. You bigots. Just my channel's full of bigots. Bigot, bigot, bigot. You're a bigot in a bigot world. China.